Welcome to another round of Prem and Proper here at SDH, where we take you through the Premier League, get you ready with only 3 matches to go for most. Others have a little more than that, depending on European competitions and reschedules, and being the victim of the reschedules from teams in European competitions. So we'll keep an eye on that as well. But as always, we'll go backward before we go forward and get you ready for the weekend, complete with juice boxes, as we come to the end of the season. Who's going to be in European football, who is going to win the league, and who is going to be sent down to the championship. We'll have our answers coming up in short order. Let's go back over the last 7 days, and we'll let you know what has happened. Going all the way back to May the 2nd, Arsenal with a 3-1 win over Chelsea at a -164. Then as a part of schedule compression, you end up with Manchester City and West Ham as a makeup game. Manchester City, no problems, as a -526 winning 3-0. Liverpool on the same day beat Fulham at Anfield by the score of 1-0 at a -333. Big result for Brighton early in the week. They didn't get the big result later in the week, but Brighton on May the 4th beat Manchester United by the score of 1-0 at a +118, which takes us into the weekend. And on your Saturday, and remember, because of the coronation of King Charles, things kind of slid around a little bit, nothing early in the morning. And so you had matches on the banking holiday on Monday. So back on Saturday after the Brighton win on Thursday, Wolves underdog at a +215. They beat Aston Villa by the score of 1-0. Spurs beat Crystal Palace as a -119 favorite by the score of 1-0. Manchester City took them a while. Ended up with a 2-0 lead on Leeds. Leeds would score to make it 2-1, but that would be your final score as Manchester City hung on. Yes, they hung on. 2-1 at a -588. Chelsea beat Bournemouth at the Vitality. Bournemouth was hanging in there. It was 1-1 for a while, then 2 goals in the 80s in quick succession gave Chelsea the +108 favorites the win 3-1. And Liverpool at Anfield beat Brentford by the score of 1-0 at a -233. On your Sunday, it was Arsenal 2-0 winners over Newcastle, and West Ham, they flipped the result from the Manchester City loss, beating Manchester United in a bit of a surprise 1-0. We'll hear from Jared Bowen coming up in just a little bit, winning at a +261. Then the craziness on Monday, the banking holiday, you end up with the first match, Fulham and Leicester, 8 goals on the board. Fulham at a +169, slight favorite at Craven Cottage, winning 5-3 over Leicester City. Everton, this was the shocker. Brighton at a -278, loses big 5-1 to Everton, who was a +744. And then Nottingham Forest and Southampton, your third match of the day, just as crazy, back and forth the entire time. And it was Nottingham Forest beating Southampton by the score of 4-3. Nottingham Forest winning at City Ground as a +102 favorite. Southampton coming in just under +300 coming in. So that sets up the standings, and that gets us to where we are as we head into the week. Manchester City playing the first leg of the semifinal in the Champions League at the Bernabeu against Real Madrid in the midweek. Have only played 34 matches. They are still 1 point ahead of Arsenal, who have played 35, 82 points to 81. Newcastle is in third, 3 points separating 3 through 5. Newcastle at 65 points. Manchester United, who's lost 2 in a row, at 63. They have both played 34 matches. Liverpool, 62 points. They played 35. Spurs at 57 points. They're in the last Europa League spot right now at 57 points. Brighton has played only 33 matches because of who they need to stack up against later on. They have matches in hand, only 2 points behind Spurs as they chase after European football in 2023. Aston Villa is in 8th. They have played 35 matches as well, and it was 54 points for Villa, who've lost 2 in a row. Brentford, part of that group in the middle. You're safe. You've got to get a run. You're probably not going to be playing European football, but it was a solid season nonetheless. Brentford at 50 points through 35 matches. They're in 9th. Fulham snaps their 3-game losing streak. They're at 48 points. They are in 10th. Chelsea snaps their 4-game losing streak with the win. They're at 42 points in 11th. Crystal Palace and Wolves, by the way, and Chelsea has played only 34 matches. So Crystal Palace and Wolves, 2 points behind at 40 points. Bournemouth, 3 points behind Chelsea at 39 points. They've all played 35. West Ham, you could probably say that they're safe. They're 7 points clear of the relegation zone after 35 matches at 37 points after snapping a 3-game losing streak as they're focusing on a semifinal in Europa League. Now the fun begins. Nottingham Forest, 16th place, 33 points. They've won 2 of 3. Everton, 32 points. They're in 17th out of the relegation zone. At present, they've hit each column, win, draw, and loss. Relegation zone currently, Leicester City at 30 points, goal difference of minus 15. Leeds, 30 points, goal difference of minus 25. That could get to them later. They only have 1 point in their last 5 matches. Southampton, 24 points. They're pretty much done. They've lost 23 of 35 so far this year, goal difference of minus 33, and it's going to take a while for Southampton probably to rebound from this. It pretty much looks like they're going to get relegated here in 2022. So let's go into our sound for the week. We mentioned West Ham with their big win to snap that 3-game losing streak. Our friends at NBC Sports, Anna Jackson, Robbie Mustoe, Tim Howard, caught up with Jared Bowen after the win.
Alrighty, well, I'm very pleased to now welcome in Jared Bowen after a fantastic win. Jared, really good to see you. Thank you for your time. Tell us, a massive win for you guys tonight. What does this do for you as a team?
No, yeah, it's massive for our confidence in our season. When we was in this position a couple of years ago against, I think it was Chelsea, we was, I think you need a big result to gain confidence from, because we know the games coming up that are around us, and we wanted to try and get as far away as possible with relegation without going into the last 2-3 games. So today was a massive win for the whole club. So but there's still a lot of football, but we've got ourselves a lot of breathing space now, I think.
Jared, it's Robbie Mustoe here. Congratulations on today. And now you can really focus on that European semi-final. But just as a season as a whole, how frustrating has it been for that dressing room that you guys have not really managed to be in an area of the league that you're used to being, of course, finishing 7th last year?
Yeah, listen, I'm not going to lie and say we've enjoyed this season, because we haven't. But I think the situation that we found ourselves in, it was down to us to get ourselves back out of it. And I think that's always been the message. And like you said, it's from the last couple of seasons that we had where we've been, 6th and 7th. This season was a real disappointment. But the last thing we could do is want it to be in a relegation battle. But this is what we find ourselves in, and now it was just down to us to get as many points as possible, and today was a massive victory towards keeping us for the Premier League next year.
Jared, Tim Howard here. Well done, well played today. Massive result and a massive game coming up on Thursday. I can imagine how jubilant the dressing room was after a win against Manchester United. But knowing David Moyes, how much is he going to allow you guys to enjoy this before it makes you refocus and get back down to business?
No, listen, like you said, we've got a semi-final on Thursday, and today we can use that as a whole with the atmosphere that we'll create with the fans, and I think we can take a lot of confidence. And like you said, the manager, he enjoyed it in the change room then, but there's a lot of football still to be played, and there's a trophy at stake for this club, so that's the main aim now.
All right, well, Jared, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it, and best of luck for the rest of the season.
Thank you. Good to speak to you.
So then back to the top 4 right now in Manchester United, the same conversation with the same 3. Because of that loss, do they think Manchester United misses out on Champions League, considering all of the traffic going on behind them and everybody chasing? Here's the answer in the discussion.
And when it comes to Man United, I mean, Erik ten Hag has expressed how important it is for this club to finish top 4. They've got Liverpool, who are playing some fantastic football, red hot on their heels right now. Yep. How concerned are you for their top 4 finish?
Yep, concerned now. I mean, I wouldn't have said that a couple of weeks ago. I mean, that's a bad couple of away dates for them, losing at Brighton and now at West Ham United. I didn't recognise Man United today. I didn't recognise any patterns of play, didn't recognise some of the width that they play with, some of the quickness they play with, some of the quality that they play with. Eriksen didn't influence things like he normally does. Bruno was shoved out on the left-hand side. Wout Weghorst, as a start, was a big call by Erik ten Hag. It didn't work. He pulled him off soon into the second half. So I get they've had a lot of games. They've had a ton of games because they've done well in all cup competitions, and I thought it showed today. They've now got a week till next weekend. They've got a home game. Who is it? It's Wolves at home next weekend, and they can rest now, recover. They've still got an advantage in the league table in terms of the top four. Manager now's got to earn his money, and he's got to get something more from this group and some of the players that, it's not always got to be Rashford. Can Anthony do a little bit more? Can Jadon Sancho influence start games and do a little bit more? So, yeah, Man United fans will be worried and concerned. I just feel they've got to breathe enough next weekend at Old Trafford, get back on track.
Any positives they can take from that performance, Tim?
No, not a lot. And Musty, I think when you talk about it cannot always be Rashford, and that's what it's been. And I actually feel for him a little bit. He's the star of the show. The question keeps getting asked, is he a 9? Is he a winger? He's a winger. That's where he thrives. But they don't have a number 9. And Weghorst is a square peg in a round hole. We know that, and it's been talked about. There's no production there. And when you're Manchester United, and this is for the summer and for next season, you have to have a striker. You have to have a 25-goal scorer who's in the race for the Golden Boot. That's just who Manchester United are. And until then, the pressure is going to be heaped down on Rashford to do it all the time. And he can do it, but it's not fair to him to say, you're not our striker, but you need to be our main goal scorer. It's not how it works.
Sometimes Erik ten Hag, when he says in his press conference, and everybody listens, we're Manchester United, we've got to be in the Champions League. We're one of the greatest clubs in the world. That's words. And he might be right. But the players have got to go out there and do it. They've got to go and do it. And they've had cup runs, and if they're a little bit tired, they've got to rotate the squad. It doesn't give them any divine right that they're going to do it. And, Liverpool, I just thought a couple of weeks ago, it's too late to get into the top 4. But those defeats now, they've put themselves under pressure. And just because they're Manchester United doesn't mean that they're going to find a way to do it. They've got to do it themselves with performances from players as much as the manager on the field.
One of the other interesting aspects of what was going on in the championship is who's going to be coming up into the Premier League in 2023. One of those teams is Burnley. Vincent Kompany signs a big contract extension, so he's going to be staying for a while, or at least the asset is under control for a while. One of the new owners is J.J. Watt, and our friends from NBC Sports caught up with him about what his early learning experiences have been as a new co-owner for a team heading from the championship to the Premier League.
Such an exciting time for Burnley. And, JJ, we obviously recently saw Ryan Reynolds sprinkle a little bit of Hollywood fairy dust on Wrexham, which brought global eyeballs to that club. I know you had the chance to catch up with Ryan. What advice did you give? What have you learned from his experience over there?
Yeah, one of the biggest things that he talked about was the tribalism of English football and the way that the people are so intertwined with their club, with the town, how everybody is one. And I think that's what we've seen so far here at Burnley. Obviously, the club is massive in the community. They do so much work. We visited the food bank. We visited the local charity. We've been out in the town, and we've seen how intertwined they are. And that's one of those things that Ryan talked about with Wrexham and what they've done so well with him and Rob is they've understood that tribalism, and they've tried to respect and honor that tradition, that history, that passion that the people have. And that's what we want to do here. This club has been around since 1882. It's going to be here long after we're gone as well. All we want to do is during our time help enhance respect, honor, and progress that history and tradition into the future and leave the place in a better way than we found it. And that's what makes it so special is the fans, the supporters, the club, and we're just trying to enhance it in any way we can.
We mentioned Spurs. They are at 57 points, 3 matches to go. They're in that second Europa League spot. Our friends at Sky Sports caught up with Harry Kane about what needs to happen for the Spurs to continue to grow and succeed in the future after this season. We're going in with 3 matches to go, 17 wins, 6 draws, 12 losses.
I think off the pitch, to have those conversations with the chairman and with the staff here and try and give my opinion on, some of the things that I think could help us. Just be more consistent and more successful in the culture that we try and set. I feel like from a culture point of view, we've been too up and down over the last few years. So in any great team, in any winning team, they have a way of doing things, and whoever comes in or who's added to that, they kind of fit in straight away and know the standards. Ours have been a little bit loose, I feel like, and we need to find a way to create that environment that drives success.
So we went through the relegation fight and how it is right now. You have 4 teams separated by 3 points for 2 spots for the relegation zone. Nottingham Forest, Everton, Leeds, Leicester, and Southampton still is a part of the discussion, obviously, since they're in last place. Jamie Carragher and Martin O'Neill on Sky Sports, they were asked about the run-ins for all 5 teams and what they thought.
For all of them, Jamie, right, let's try and see if we can make some progress here and unpick some of this. We've got Forest on 33, Everton on 32, Leicester and Leeds now on 30. Southampton have obviously got it all to do. How do you see it?
I said today, I felt today's results could be as important or more important than what happens maybe on the last day of the season. And I think those 2 results for Everton and Nottingham Forest today put huge pressure on Leicester and Leeds. 3 games to go. I think Everton and Forest, if they get one more result, if they win another game, I think that they're okay. Because Leicester would then have to get to sort of another 5 points from 3 games. Leeds the same. And we're talking about teams who are on really poor runs. You know, not winning games, picking up points. So, I mean, I think that fixture list, if we maybe forget Southampton, unfortunately for them, but Newcastle, Liverpool, Man City, Chelsea, that is a tough next weekend for all those teams. It really is. And if anyone was to pick up anything there, it'd be almost be a bonus for them. But in terms of Leicester and Leeds, they have to find a way of getting something. I almost feel like Leeds need to win. I really do. And then you go into the last 2 games of the season. Yeah.
Well, just to take that next line. All right, if you're going to say that first line is really difficult for everybody, what about that second line? Arsenal for Forest. Everton have got to go to Wolves, who are on a terrific run of home form under Lopetegui. Leicester have got to go to Newcastle. Leeds going to West Ham.
When you're down at the bottom, every game's hard because you don't beat anyone, really. I mean,
let me ask you, Martin, whose fixtures would you fancy right now? If you're in the manager's chair, which of those 3 look the least painful?
Well, first of all, if you look at Nottingham Forest and Everton at this minute, take a scenario that you think, the worst scenario that you feel is that you don't actually have to get another point to stay up. Number 1, that's looking at it. I would have said very pessimistically. You know that you have to win. I mentioned at the start of the programme that if I was Leeds, I'm thinking if I could get 5 points on the board. That might have been before Everton had finished their game. That was a big, big win for them. All the sides around here probably thought Everton might get something from the game against Brighton, might not, but they were not expecting that big victory. So that's a massive boost at this stage of the season. So if you're looking now, Jimmy, you're looking at the three teams at the bottom. I thought myself that Leicester would have enough goal power to get themselves out of trouble, but they do leak goals, and that is a major problem.
I think watching Leicester today, that was not a performance from a team who were fighting for their lives, and I really fear for them. I really fear because obviously they've got Liverpool next, will be a tough game, but Newcastle away, West Ham at home. I'm not sure they could get to it might be over by the time they get to the West Ham game. You know, Liverpool are in great form. Newcastle away, we know, is one of the toughest away games that you've got. I mean, I'm not quite sure how Leicester will get out of that. I'm really not. And when you talk about who's got the best fixtures right now, because of the result today and where Everton find themselves, yes, they've got City next. But Wolves away, Bournemouth at home, I think Everton have got the best set of fixtures there, considering where they are. So I don't really see them going down now, Everton. And at Leicester, I'm not quite sure how they're going to get out of it.
So that's what it looks like heading into the match week 36 for the weekend. So here's your rundown of the matches themselves. Most of them are on Saturday. You do have a couple on Sunday, and you do have Monday Night Football, but then once again it turns around, and you end up with another match in the midweek with Newcastle and Brighton before it starts up all over again next weekend. On Saturday, this one's big. Leeds at Elland Road hosting Newcastle. Newcastle favored currently at a minus 141. Leeds a plus 363 in the composite, courtesy of our friends at Odds Portal. 10 o'clockers, and these are the rest of the start times on your Saturday. Villa, a home favorite at plus 125 as Spurs come to visit. Chelsea, big favorite at home at Stamford Bridge as Nottingham Forest comes to visit. Chelsea's a minus 196. And Nottingham Forest is a plus 569. Your draw's a plus 341. Crystal Palace at Selhurst Park hosting Bournemouth. They are favored at a minus 111. Bournemouth north of plus 300. Manchester United hosting Wolves at Old Trafford. Manchester United a minus 250. That line is changing as we're speaking. Manchester United to a minus 244 in the composite at Odds Portal. And the draw's a plus 407. Wolves almost a plus 690. Southampton, must-win situation. At home, at St. Mary's, against Fulham, and Southampton is a plus 183, and Fulham is a plus 152 as a road favorite. 3 matches on your Sunday, 2 of them at 9 o'clock Eastern Time. Brentford hosting West Ham, but Brentford is a plus 108. West Ham is a plus 259. The draw is pretty much close by. Everton hosting Manchester City after League One of Champions League. It will be interesting to see what this lineup looks like for Manchester City. They're a minus 294 heading to Everton, who's a plus 834. Your draw is a plus 444. 11:30, your late game on Sunday morning. Arsenal hosting Brighton. Arsenal is a minus 130, and Brighton is a plus 326. The draw is pretty much close to there, too. Monday Night Football, Leicester at the King Power hosting Liverpool. Liverpool's a minus 169. Your draw is a plus 366. Leicester is a plus 413. So that's where we are as we head into the final 3 match weeks of the season. Stuff going on at the top, stuff going on at the bottom. And so the sprint continues, trying to figure out who's going to play in European football, where they're going to play in European football, and who's going to be in the championship, joining everybody else who is not promoted here in 2023. It's another round of Prem and Proper. We'll be back at it with it again next week to find out how things went this past weekend. We'll get you ready for match week 36, 37. We'll see what happens with a bit of a compressed schedule and Brighton having to make some matches up. We'll see what happens there. So for everybody here at SDH, that's another round of Prem and Proper. We'll catch up with you again next week. Enjoy the Premier League.